It's like people who've trained themselves to be specialists in physics. They know their subject in details. But you can't, yeah, if with efforts, they can learn other subjects. It depends on the flexibility of the mind. But they grasp better, more and more knowledge about the particular subject in which they've specialized. So if we understand that concept, then it's easy to run through that. It says Ashraddha Dana Purusha Dharmasya Parantapa Aprayamam Nivartane Mrityu Sansar Vartamani. So those who don't have faith in dharma, धर्म में श्रद्धा न रखने वाले ईश्वर को प्राप्त नहीं होते हैं. Because dharma is the basics for ethical living, righteous living. Then avyakt swarup, they will never understand the concept of God unborn, undying, uncreated. And they will be content with the lower levels of what we commonly known as puja and bhakti. But then forgetting the example. एक बच्चा जब अपने माँ बाप की पूजा करता है, what does he do? Does he do the आरती of that? No. So ईश्वर की हम पूजा कर रहे हैं तो हम क्या करें? Put the questions. So that's where he says, Maya tadamidam sarvam jagatavyatir murtina avyakt swarup. That formless God. How do you understand that? Okay, you're using those forms as ladders to reach the level that you want. Like I take the staircase to reach the first floor. If I keep to the staircase, can I do the work that I need to do on the first floor? I still have to leave the staircase, move on to the first floor, and then do what I have to do. So it's the same for whatever ladder we are going to use to attain the spiritual path, to attain perfection in the spiritual path. Ultimately, we'll have to go to that level. And it gives the example of God as the creator and sustainer. Sarva bhutani kaunteyam prakriti yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado vrisijamyaham. And then yathakasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra gato mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani yupadharaya. So Ishvara as God, creator and sustainer of the universe, which we don't see obviously because no physical form. And gives the example, जैसे सर्वत्र वायु है जो हम देख नहीं पाते, but we can feel with the skin. So we have to, the tool has been given to us to feel the presence of God, and that is mana. It's for us to unfold and use that equipment properly, efficiently, and effectively. And when referring to God as Vayu, it's just taking that present everywhere and at all times. Then there's one word in Shloka 8, which talks about Kritsnamavasham. Ishwar God as the guardian. guardian of souls and guardian of Prakriti, primordial matter in the prime state, Sattva Rajtam, during Pralay, the dissolution phase of this world. And that's why when we describe Mukti, we say we are in the bliss of Ishwar God, we're in the custody of Ishwar God, and this is the highest state where we can be. Then issues a warning. Avajananti mamudham manushitano mashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram moghasha mogha karmano moghajyano vichetasa rakshasi masurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shrita. And look at the wording. For the unknowledgeable or the foolish, he can never realize that Param Swarup. Especially when we are overridden by ego, ahankar, me, mine, and myself. To realize that Purushottam, Ishwara, and to realize sab bhuton mein Ishwara, that is present everywhere. That is only when we reach that level of Sattva Purushayo. We realize the Atma, the soul, as the purest entity within this body. And we'll keep that purity of the soul in the purity of mind, purity of body. It's not body, mind, and spirit. It's spirit, mind, and body. So we follow that sequence, we'll realize Ishwar God. Otherwise, we'll be in Moh Maya, fighting, this is my God, this is your God, this is his God, this is her God, and like this, to weigh the spirituality in life. Yeah, ye mere Ishtadev hai, this is my most preferred one. So the others become, as we say, second, third, and fourth in the rank, inferior. So with that attitude, it's the qualification is very strong. Rakshasi Masurim, राक्षस और असुर लोग इस स्वभाव को बढ़ाते हैं और मुझको प्राप्त नहीं होते. So because of that, of those attitudes, it's difficult to realize God. So what happens is also issues another warning to those who think that only doing yajya havan, the physical havan with the fire, that is the way to reach bliss. No, that is only part. Because by doing that, we are increasing the level of fragrance, the level of benefits of the microparticles of the herbs, etc., in the atmosphere, boosting immunity, etc., etc. But the yaj is beyond that. All karma that we do that benefit the whole world, that is yaj. A gift of knowledge is yaj. A gift of time listening to the needy, to the compassionate, to the suffering is yaj. So let's understand the holistic approach, the holistic concept of yaj. Like Ishwar has created this world, this is the greatest yaj that we can see. Yeah, we have the 5 daily duties, पंच महायज्ञ जिसको कहते हैं, जो हमें करना है. But beyond those physical yajna, our life itself should be a yajna. जहां पर कुछ डालते हैं वो multiply होकर के फैलते हैं. You remember when I was talking about yajna, the processes of the fire, breaking that into microparticles, sending it in the vapors. Let our life be like that, spreading the goodness all around. So that's also a strong warning to those who believe that yaj is limited to that Havan Kun and fire. It's much beyond that. That Havan Kun and the fire is only of it. So understanding the Traividya. Traividya is the knowledge of the Rigved, Yajurved and Samved. And the combination of them becomes the Atharva Ved. So, understanding Rigved as Jnana Kand, Yajurved as Karma Kand, and Samved as Bhakti Kand. We need the free knowledge in our life. So that's where also the Gita comes with Traividya, Jnana Karma or Bhakti. And we need a blend of them to reach the objectives. And remember, for whatever we do, I discussed the spirit of sharing. It comes again here. Aham hi sarvadhyayadhyanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha natu mam abhijananti tatvenata shravanti te. Shloka 24. सब यज्ञों का भोक्ता और स्वामी सर्वव्यापी ईश्वर, in the sense that the elements that he's given to us, he takes it, multiplies it, and gives it back to the world. You remember I described the process of water flowing down from the rivers going to the sea, and the sea evaporation brings it to cloud, and then rains, and we get the crops in the field multifold. एक मुट्ठी जब गेहूं बोएंगे एक पूरे बोरी मिलेगा. So that's the concept. जब ईश्वर को हम भोक्ता मानते हैं ना, ईश्वर doesn't take for itself. I use itself because I'm not going to use he or him, her, because ईश्वर is neutral in gender. Otherwise, some people will say ईश्वर is masculine and it's not for ladies. And that's one of the way we've started discriminating against ladies, which is really bad. So if we take that example, Ishwar Bhokta kaise hai? Because he takes it, but then gives it to us multifold. Just take one example. Even if you live in a flat or in a studio, just take one small pot, put some soil in there, put one bean. ये जो राजमा है ना, उसको एक दिन भिगो करके फिर उसमें डाल देना, रोजाना थोड़ा सा पानी दे दें, put it in the window. After 40-45 days, you'll get probably 10 beans out of one single plant. So multifold ईश्वर कैसे भोगता है और कैसे वापस देता है. And just now remember, for the good things that we would do, कैसे उसको वापस देगा, कैसे फैलाएगा इसको. And that's why I said somewhere, for the few corrupt people, the whole world is getting the blame. And if the few good people start taking control, in the sense that propagating the good things of life, that is going to make a paradigm shift in this world. And this is the real application of that Guhya Vidya Guhya Yoga. It's not a question that I need to sit down from morning to evening in meditation. If I do that, I do no other thing, I'm a parasite to society. I have to live a balanced life. Even look at the life of Sri Krishna, he was an accomplished yogi. जो भी कर रहे थे with the charity of Arjun, he got nothing in return out of it. That's the example of Nishkam Seva. He gave Arjun the knowledge, knowing that Arjun will carry the responsibilities. He was the appropriate recipient to that. And that's the understanding of Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya Yoga. Then one concept is there. जो भी हम करें वो ईश्वर को समर्पित करें. You know the concept of Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God. Now just look for those who go with physical offerings in the temples. They look for the best of things to bring to the temple. सारे गलत चीज को नहीं लाएंगे ना. तो हम जब कर्म कर रहे हैं ईश्वर को सरेंडर करेंगे. We are going to surrender all our actions, all the outcome of the actions to Ishwar God. So are we going to do bad? I don't think. Nobody would dare to do that. So that starts, this is the starting point, or as we say, the ignition key of your car to start the car. This is the starting point of reviewing our life to be on the right track. Because we have to learn, even if we don't have the level of the highest level of spiritual sciences, even which don't have the Raj Vidya, that Mukut Vidya, that crown knowledge, let's look at the practicals in life. And if we take those examples, that is enough to be on the right track. And it says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashva chantam nigachati. And the previous shlok says, Api cheda sudurachari bhajate mamanya bhaka sadhureva samantavya samyavyavasito hi sa. We become a devotee by complying to the instructions, to the guidance. So now he's talking about durachari bhi sadhu ban sakta hai. Just because when he starts surrendering his karma and the outcome of his karma to God, he knows I can't give the offerings which are impure, which are not proper. So I have to start re-engineering my life. So the opportunity to improve is for everyone. And this is where we also get the concept of Varna Vyavastha is according to profession. You can climb the ladder and you can also go down the ladder, depending of gun karma svabhav, on your character, on your aptitudes, on your karma. So the intermobility, and there was one shloka which was talking about the Varna Vyavastha. I think we dealt with that yesterday. It's the same thing. It's the transformation that we need to start, re-engineering of our life. And then it says, Striyo Vaishyastastha Shudraste Api Yanti Param Gatim. जिसको हम समझते हैं कि इनको वेद नहीं पढ़ना है या कुछ नहीं करना है. And remember that started with the Mahabharata era, that women were deprived from learning at the end of the Mahabharata era, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga. Only the Brahmins were allowed to read the Vedas, to read the scriptures. Krishna says, no. Striya. Striyo yani striya. Ladies, women folk. Vaishya, those who are engaged in business. Shudra, those who are manual workers. Each and everybody has the opportunity to improve, to grow up the ladder and to reach their final stage. So, I will again end with the last shlok which says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajima namaskuru mameva veshati yuktaiva mapnatam matparayana. अपने संपूर्ण अंतःकरण से ईश्वर के साथ जुड़ो. That is yoga. The antakaran, man, the tool that is given to us to connect to God. Let's use that to the optimum level, to reach that brightest level. And Vibhuti Yoga, though it's a bit in depth, I'll try to cover that in probably 10-15 minutes, if that's not inconvenient to anybody. Because then we'll be left with 8 chapters for the next 2 sessions.
जी आचार्य जी, ठीक है.
Okay. So the Vibhuti Yoga, after the Raj Yoga, which we understood were the apex of all knowledge, the Vibhuti Yoga is talking about the characteristics of Ishvara God. When Krishna is saying me everywhere, he's just talking as the accomplished yogi, referring to his personal experiences with God. By his God realization. जो भव्य स्वरूप वो बताएगा अर्जुन का, it's as showing Arjun the photo in our modern world. I can transmit video image through WhatsApp. I will see that at a smaller level. Like if I take a picture, especially with drone, of an area that goes so small, probably 10 centimeters by 6 centimeters, postcard size, something like that. And people will understand something. But if we want to see the real picture, they have to go probably on a helicopter and have the bird's eye view. So this is what, in terms of technology, or the without technology, but through the intrinsic, subtle spiritual sciences, which Krishna is trying to convey to Arjun. And even then, Arjun has several questions before he engages into action. So, Vibhuti Yoga. Bhuti means satta, that is होना. किस चीज का होना? सुख, विजय, धन, ऐश्वर्य, महत्व. So I'm looking for pleasure, for peace, for happiness, for material treasures, for spiritual treasures, and other things. And now Vibhuti. V stands for Vishesh. So Vishesh Sukh. विशेष तौर से सुख, धन, विजय, महत्व, ऐश्वर्य को प्राप्त करना. Now to see where that lies and from where we can get that, so we see from Purush to Vishesh Purush and Param Purush. So we need to know the attributes of that to be able to know how to put our bucket under the tap and be the recipient of that. It's describing the qualities. Basically, it's describing the qualities. And if we want to achieve that level, just sit down in moments of silence, listen to the divine guide, to the divine inspiration. The shloka goes like this: Buddhirjana sanmoha kshama satyam dama shama sukham dukham bhavo bhavo bhavyam chabhayameva cha. So when it's talking about buddhi, it's the vivek buddhi, not the samanya buddhi. It's the discriminating faculty of the mind. Then jnana is true knowledge. It's not any type of knowledge. It's true knowledge. We have to gauge that true knowledge. And if you want to know whether that's true or not, the basics, as per Manu Smriti, Shruti Smriti Sadachara Shvasya cha Priyatmana. Learn from the scriptures the methodology of gauging truth, or else Smriti, the Upanishads and the other Shastras. Shruti is Veda and Smriti is the Upanishad and the other Darshan Shastras, etc. Then Sadachara Satyacharan. That is, look for the elderly, the knowledgeable persons around us and look at the correct behavior. Otherwise, just listen. Shvasya cha Priyatmana. The inner voice is the guidance. So that is the way to know dhyan. Then asanmoha. Totally detached. Kshama, forgiveness, but I'll add there compassion. Satya, truth. Dhamma, control of the senses. Then Sham, Mano Niyantran, control over our man, centers of emotions also. Sukha, Dukha will be able to distinguish pains from pains and sorrows from happiness, and the real happiness, not the transient one. Then we'll know from bhav and abhav, that which we have and that which we don't have. Then we'll understand what happens, what leaves the body when the body falls dead. We'll know bhai and abhay, we'll know what is being fearless and what is being fearful. We'll know between hinsa and ahimsa. We'll know what is between vichalit and samta, between disturbance and turmoil and balanced mind. We'll know what is santosh, being content. We'll know what is tapa, dan, etc., etc. And the end of it will be yash, not apiyash. And this is where Krishna becomes the head, the enlightened role model. Then one shlok says, Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha. So, to get the vibhutis, to reach the realization, special vibhuti vishesh, sukh, to realize that the knowledge tattva dhyan, how each and every single element is made distinct. That is, the first path is to know the difference between the soul and the body. So, and it goes around describing that. And the beauty of it, it says, Mera smaran aur dhyan karte, उन्हीं में ममत्व बुद्धि की युक्ति देता हूं. So स्मरण और ध्यान करते, it's not only by chanting the name, because when he's talking about yukt hokar, that is, I have to be linked to that. And how I can be linked to that, it's not for 5 minutes prayer time or 10 minutes prayer time. I have to be linked to that 24 hours a day. And Purna Purusharth karne ke baad, I have to put up all the mental, physical efforts. Then describing God as Sarva Vyapak, as Aishwaryam ko dene wala, as giver of happiness and the highest level of happiness, because Aishwarya is not that sukh, which we tend to associate with. It's more the worldly level of pleasures which we refer to as sukh. But even moksha is moksha, sukh. That is the highest level. But then when we start getting the glimpse of the divine bliss, then we start knowing the difference. That is Aishwarya, the spiritual treasures. And look about Arjun, the humility with which he addresses Krishna. Though Krishna was his childhood friend, कई जगह पे उसको पता नहीं क्या क्या भी कह दिया, मान सम्मान भी कर दिया. But now, as a seeker of knowledge, he addresses Krishna as Yogeshwar. With full humility, he knows what is the potential of the giver of that knowledge. So this is the level of Jityasu again, bringing us to that if we want to realize the Vibhuti. The good things, Vishesh Sukh, Vishesh Dhan, Vishesh Aishwarya, Ityadi. So we have to be humble in our endeavors. And humble, when will be that? जब मैं मेरा वो पीठ वो छाती ठोंक के बोलने का जो एटीट्यूड है ना, इसको पूरे वेस्ट पेपर बास्केट में डाल दें. Let's press the delete button for those things. Then we'll develop the humility. As I referred to, other tree, fruit-bearing tree, when it ripens, it goes down and down. And then this It talks about the Devata. So when he's talking about the Devatas, remember he's talking about 33 Devata, not 33 crore, because 33 koti, it's 33 types, and not crore also means type in Sanskrit. So it's not 330 million. It's 33 forms. इसमें 12 आदित्य, 8 वसु और नहीं 11, हाँ 12 आदित्य, 8 वसु, that makes 20. Then 11 रुद्र और फिर अश्विनी और the other one, just give me a minute. Then there's Yam. So these are the 33. And these 33, they are the donors. Devta means dene wale. So dene wale, and the highest, or जैसे कहते हैं ना परम देवता, the highest level would be Ishwar God. And the word Yama comes again. Yama comes in the sense, Ekto we know Yaman, Yama, but remember Yama doesn't stand for the god of death. It stands for justice here. We tend to think, whenever we think of Yama, we think that hunter और घोड़े पर चलने वाले लेकर के चलता है, मैं तुम्हारे प्राण लूंगा, ये नहीं. Yama is known as the administrator of, describes the attribute of God as the administrator of the law of karma. So for those who've done good, they will get the good, and for those who've done bad, that is a photographic representation of Yama, going to take the lives of people and to fix them in the next birth. और वो कर्म फल के अनुसार है. So we should also understand the photographic representations of certain concepts by artists. And when we understand that, then we'll understand the concept of charitra ki puja kare. So that is very important. And then we should understand the way of dealing. Vad ke teen bhed, that is essential. You know, jalp, that is going with the Nyay Darshan, Vadi and Prativadi. Jalp is the case where, whether the other party is right or wrong, I am bent on proving him wrong. So I will do whatever comes within my mind. I forget all the logic, all the truth, and I'm bent to destroy that person. That is Jalp. Then Vitanda, I'm not going to listen to the other party, I'm just going to shout. And just look at these attitudes in the characters of the Mahabharata. Then Vad, Satya Nirnay ka Shuddh Bhavana se Samvad Charcha Karna. So if you see, even as Arjun putting the questions, he's using that Vad Samvad. And when Krishna also is talking to him, it's the Vad and Samvad. But look at when Duryodhana talks to even to Sri Krishna. He doesn't want to listen to anything. That is Vitanda. He just goes on talking and talking on his point of view. And the others, with Duryodhana, they are on Jalp. That is, जो भी सामने में है गलत है या ठीक है, उसको देखेंगे नहीं, बस उसको गलत बोलना है. So this is where we learn also the characteristics of dealing with people. When we are talking about the creation there in this particular chapter, is talking about Ganga, Himalaya, Meru, Parvat and everything. It says our actions should be, the references really in the spiritual sense means, our action should be as high as the Meru Parvat, the summum of the Himalayas. But then it should be as profound as the depth of the seas. So as profound as the depths of the seas, wo kahan se? Man se. This is where we can go into the depth. And when it comes out at the Himalayas. When it refers to the Ganga, it refers to the ever-flowing knowledge. Remember, Krishna himself says, Vivasan, Manu, Ikshavaku, and coming down to my line. So the ever-flowing knowledge, references to particular places or to particular things in this universe have a spiritual undertone. And when we understand that this is Vibhuti, Vishesh Jnana, so can we apply that in day-to-day life? And to give a clear example of that, every single element of nature has something to teach us. As I told you about the fruit-laden tree, let's look at other forms of life. We know fruit trees bear fruits not for themselves but to give to others. There's one mantra in the Vedas which says Ullu kayatum shwa kayatum shishulu kayatum. Ullu ki chal mat chalo. Don't stay awake in the night and be sleeping in the day, because that is not meant for mankind, except for those who work on shifts. But the normal, usual person, that's not meant for him. But then learn also from the Ullu, the sharpness of the vision during the night. Then Shwakayatum. Look at the dogs. Two puppies from the same parent dogs. When they grow up, they forget that they were siblings. If you give one a piece of bread and don't give the other one, they start fighting. Is attitude ko mat pakro. But then look at the other attitude which we have to learn from the same animal. If you give a piece of bread or give one plate of food to the dog, and you continue like that a few times, kutta aapke prati wafadar ho jata hai. He becomes your servant and will obey to your command. Gridh kayatum. Gridh are the vultures, and they always attack on those who are less forceful, powerful than them. Is vyavhar ko kabhi mat apnao. So every single element of this universe has something to teach us. Like the river telling us, once the water has flown from the mountain to the sea, it can't go back through the same process. It goes to the sea, evaporates, clouds, rain, and then go back again. That's the cycle. So let's learn from nature. That is also a vibhuti. Apart from knowing the characteristics of God. So every single element of nature points to the creation, and behind this creation, there's a creator. I don't know if I've told you that. I buy this from the shop. If I don't know about industries, I don't know about the manufacturing of that, what do I think about? I can't imagine beyond that, but if I use some logic, I know shopkeeper has bought it from salesman got it from the industries, and the industries got the raw materials. इसमें तीन कारण है, उपादान कारण, the raw materials, निमित्त कारण, the creator, and creator, and sadharan karan, the nimit karan and sadharan karan. Upadan karan, raw materials. Nimit karan, the creator. Sadharan karan, all the accessories. Like you need plant and machinery, you need technology, you need people who nimit karan are the creators, engineers, designers, workers, etc. and sadharan karan, plant machinery, equipment and everything. So if we understand this, behind this universe, which is running like this without one planet colliding with the other, imperfect things, if for the pin there's a creator, for this big universe there should be a creator. And this is when we realize that from the very single things that come into our hand, that there's a creator behind everything, we'll understand the creator behind the creation of this universe. And this is the greatest vibhuti which we can achieve, realize in life. So that comes to the end of chapter 10. Tomorrow we'll go into Vishwa Swarup Darshan. So I'll leave the floor to questions. Again, I apologize for the overrun. We started about 20-25 minutes late. That's why the overrun goes so deep. So thank you. Let's get the Q&A session.
Yes. Any questions?
I think you're on mute. Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah. Any questions, students, please?
The questions may also be on the previous sessions. Please feel free.
When we say that souls carry imprints of our past karmas, uh, they do we so can we say that intuitions that we have can be attributed to those imprints that we've had? For example, in a situation, if I find myself in a situation where I'm going to meet a person, or say I meet a person and I speak to that person, and then I come out of the meeting, and then I have this intuition that nothing good is going to come out of this meeting. Do I put this as my intuition telling me that that this person is not fit for the task or something like that, just by meeting that person once? Do I say that in the past my karma has interacted with this kind of a person, and maybe a lesson that I learned in that life, or in a way that is telling me now that this is not going to happen, or this may not happen?
I will say partly yes,
Okay.
and partly probably because of our bias.
No,
Partly yes,
I'm
because
yes, bias. I'm saying because I'm meeting that person for the first time in my life.
yeah. I'm telling you, partly yes, because previous experiences may not also relate to this life. It may be previous experiences from other lives. You remember yesterday I was talking about how the calf knows where to go to get the milk
Yeah,
from the calf.
that is
So that
actually
is
the origin point of this question.
experiences. Yes, but there may be, if you have a balanced mind, that would be totally from previous experiences. Buddhi samadho uchyate. With a balanced state of mind, that would be 100% previous experiences. But if bias comes in, then it's a mixture of those. And this is where we say, ye Shukla Krishna yani mixed karma hai. So that's a mixed result also. So it depends on your level of attainment. If you're able to gauge the situation rightly, you get the correct intuition, that's perfect. That's past experiences, previous karma imprints being carried out, and that is guiding you to be there. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because these are the daily experiences of life.
Any other question?
Yes, ma'am. Namaskar, Acharya ji.
Yes.
Namaste.